Hey guys, today I wanted to make a quick video about Hero's Cape, a card that has kind of popped in and out of the meta at different times. A good indicator of that sometimes is when you see a card that has no collectible value, just kind of go up in price and down in price and up in price. A lot of times it's because it's kind of in and out of the meta at different points, so it's a card that's definitely been popular for certain decks, but now we're kind of seeing it in other decks like Dragapult, for example, and Mega Excadrill. So I want to talk a little bit about why we're seeing that in the meta right now, and also kind of the dilemma behind this card. So as you can see here, these are some limitless results for Hero's Cape as a card. As of recently, we pretty much only see this in Crustal. We have seen it in other decks though, like Zoroark is pretty popular at times. Obviously the Lopunny / the Dunsparce deck, Dragapult at certain points in the meta, right? It's been a while since we've really kind of seen that. I think it was Prague where it won with Hero's Cape, so we haven't really seen it since then, but it's a card that, like I said, kind of comes in and out of the meta at different points. And a big reason because of that is because it's a card that can easily be countered, right? So tool removal is, in the form of an item or in the form of stadium. You can pretty quickly and easily get rid of tools. It's just a matter of, do you want to tech that in your deck? Are tools popular enough to get rid of that, right? And again, right now in a lot of online tournaments, we are seeing a lot of results for Hero's Cape. Most recently, we had the Worlds of Doom day 2. This was like a 900 person tournament, and then it was a day 2 of about 163 people. We saw a lot of Excadrills on here, a lot of Dragapults as well playing Hero's Cape. So first we had this top 4, I believe, Dragapult list right here playing the Hero's Cape, and it's something that we're really starting to see in Dragapult now. Obviously Dragapult is a deck that pretty heavily relies on Unfair Stamp, but Dragapult inherently is strong enough to where it can function without that ace spec, so it's typically going to be the best ace spec, right? But there are times where you can consider doing something like a Hero's Cape to just kind of make certain matchups even more favorable. I think right now one of Dragapult's biggest struggles, especially for straight Pult, is Mega Excadrill, because Mega Excadrill can one-shot Dragapult. So I think one of the ways to kind of get around that is by playing Hero's Cape. Essentially that allows your Dragapult to punch into Mega Excadrill twice. You're able to survive a hit and they can't one-shot you, and a lot of times if you're able to do that and maybe combine that with some hand disruption or some hammer plays or things like that, a lot of times that can kind of swing the matchup in your favor. So I think right now Hero's Cape, it's kind of strictly in Dragapult. I'm not going to say strictly, but I think it's mostly a consideration for Dragapult because of Mega Excadrill being one of the few decks that can really just one-shot Dragapult. Also obviously useful in other matchups as well. It can kind of make you survive, Clefairy attacks and things like that too. So it's just a card that really allows your Dragapult to survive multiple hits, and then you combine that with multiple Munkidorys. Now you're moving more damage, you're taking bigger knockouts, so essentially it makes your Dragapult into a much tankier card, and you're able to just kind of get more value out of that single Dragapult. The other deck where we're really starting to see Hero's Cape kind of shine, I'd say predominantly this is the deck that we're really seeing it in, is Mega Excadrill. So Mega Excadrill is a deck where people were considering different ace specs when it first came out. Precious Trolley for that consistency, Secret Box to be able to find exactly what you need. But then kind of on the latter part of that, people started to transition into Hero's Cape. And honestly, I feel like Hero's Cape is kind of the most popular way to play Mega Excadrill right now. I really haven't seen a lot of Trolley builds. I definitely haven't seen any Secret Box builds recently. And honestly, it makes a lot of sense for this deck as well. You have this big attacker here, 340 HP. We can make it 440 HP. We're playing Jumbo Ice Cream as well, so we can heal damage. And essentially the goal here is set up the Mega Excadrill, set up your board to where you don't even really need to draw cards, and then you can just continue to just swing with Mega Excadrill while nothing can really one-shot you. It even helps against things like Blaziken, which hit for 200, and for weakness they hit for 400. Now they're not able to one-shot Mega Excadrill, which is pretty big. And I honestly think this is the best deck for Hero's Cape because there's a lot of versatility with Mega Excadrill. It's a deck that has multiple different attackers, right? So on the surface level, Mega Excadrill is going to be your main attacker, obviously, but you do have other Pokemon that you attack with throughout the game. And I think that Hero's Cape can kind of help you in certain matchups specifically, right? So most times you're going to want to use Hero's Cape on your Mega Excadrill, right? It's your main attacker. You make this thing unkillable essentially, and you just kind of win the game like that sometimes. But there are times where you can kind of find yourself using Hero's Cape on other things, right? So, inherently, Mega Excadrill is going to survive most attacks, and depending on how the game kind of progresses with certain matchups, there are different things that you can kind of go for. So for example, if you're up against Festival Lead, one of your best attackers is going to be Genesect EX, because you have that grass resistance. You're able to one-shot everything with Protect Charge, and when you use Protect Charge, you take 30 less damage from attacks on the following turn. So essentially, if you punch with Genesect, the base level damage, if Festival Lead has like a full bench, is essentially going to be 100 minus 30 minus 30 more, so they're only punching for 40. So if they attack twice, they're doing 80 damage to you. If you slap a Hero's Cape on this thing, you have Jumbo Ice Cream, this thing is not going down, you know what I mean? Unless they play Tool Scrapper. So in certain matchups, you'll find yourself kind of doing that, right? Like, there are times too where I found myself leading with Pheasantipede and just in my opening hand, I get this thing setting up by, turn 2, I can start sniping with stuff. And, based on what they have on their side of the board, they really don't have anything that can kind of deal with Pheasantipede. So sometimes I might just slap a Hero's Cape on this thing and make sure that they can't knock it out, and I can just kind of win the game off of that, Same thing with Metagross, 180 HP. You slap a Hero's Cape on this thing, now you got 280. If a Dragapult is going up against you, they can't one-shot Metagross anymore, and you have a single prize attacker that can take multiple knockouts possibly, So I think there's a lot of value behind this card because of the versatility. On the surface level, like I said, it makes a lot of sense for Mega Excadrill, make this thing unkillable essentially. In most games, that's what you're going to kind of go for, but I think in this deck specifically, you have all these different types of attackers, and Hero's Cape giving them that extra HP basically gives them even more value. So I think it's a very versatile card, specifically for this deck. The problem though with cards like Hero's Cape is tool removal, and as I mentioned, it's very easy to get rid of them. If you play one copy of Tool Scrapper, you can essentially completely get rid of Hero's Cape, not even a problem, right? If you play Jamming Tower, you can put that down on the turn where you plan on attacking, and you can essentially just get rid of the value for Hero's Cape. And this is kind of the dilemma behind playing a card like Hero's Cape, because if everybody knows you're going to play it, right, they're going to be prepared for it. And we're starting to see that already. I'm starting to see a lot of Mega Excadrill lists playing Tool Scrapper, a lot of Festival Lead is playing Tool Scrapper. Jamming Tower isn't as popular, but we do see this often in different Dragapult variants. So I would say most commonly you see this in Dragapult Dusknoir or Dragapult Blaziken. Those are kind of the two main ones you're going to see this, but essentially with both of these cards, they kind of just invalidate your A spec entirely, which feels kind of bad, right? So it's one of those things where depending on how popular a card is in the meta, it's going to kind of dictate whether people play cards like this to deal with those cards. I mean, you see it here too in Azul's list. He's playing Tool Scrapper and Hero's Cape, right? Just prepared for hitting other Hero's Capes, on Dragapults or on Mega Excadrill, just finding ways to kind of deal with them. It's going to be really interesting going into Worlds, kind of seeing what people decide to do with their deck lists. I do think that Hero's Cape is going to be popular, right? So everybody knows it's going to be popular. I don't think that's going to deter people from playing it though. I do think that there's just a lot of value behind that card, and if people aren't prepared for it, then you can really just kind of take over certain games. It's kind of a situation like Shaman and Slowking, right? You can definitely tech for Slowking by including one copy of Shaman, but is everybody going to do that? No. So Slowking is going to find success, you know what I mean? So it's kind of a similar situation here where not every deck is going to play Tool Scrapper, not every deck is going to play Jamming Tower, and those decks that don't play those cards really don't have a great way to kind of answer Hero's Cape. So I think going into Worlds, it's going to be very popular, but I wouldn't be surprised to see after Worlds, like going into Baltimore, to kind of see this card drop off a little bit. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how it does at Worlds, but I really do think it's a great card right now for Mega Excadrill, and also a good consideration for Dragapult. But those are just my quick thoughts on the card. Let me know in the comments if you guys think the same thing as me here, or what your predictions are for Worlds. I'm interested to hear. I'll probably be streaming some of Worlds. I haven't decided yet, so look out for that if I do. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this one. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.